for that. Kathleen, how about a roll call?
Commissioner Blanco?
Here.
Commissioner Hernandez?
Here.
Commissioner Lopez?
Here.
Commissioner Seifert?
Here.
Chair Dickerson?
I'm here. Next on the agenda is the approval of the Planning Commission minutes of November 6th. That's right. Well, that's it. It's not agendized. The whole thing's bogus. We should ask Gil about this. Yeah.
I move that we approve the Planning Commission meeting minutes of November 6, 2019.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And those who abstain?
I abstain.
Okay. Public comment period. Each member of the audience may address the commission on any subject within the commission's business. Each member of the audience and each subject is limited to discussion of 3 minutes or is otherwise directed. This is for items not already on the agenda. Do we have anyone who wishes to discuss anything not already on the agenda? Seeing none, we move on to the public hearing. And we will start off with item number 1, the Minami Park Telecom Plan Development Permit at 601 West Enos Drive. Can we hear from staff?
Good evening, Commissioners. Ryan Hofstadter, Planning Manager. This item, the applicant has requested that that the Commission continue this item. It is the Commission's discretion as to whether or not you choose to do that. Staff is prepared to make a presentation should you choose to move forward with that, or we could allow a continuance. They've requested February 5th, but my recommendation is off calendar, just to ensure we have enough time to work with them to prepare the materials and pick a date that everybody can make. So that would be an off-calendar renotice for that item if the Commission would like to continue.
And they have sent a letter with
They have
that
submitted a
request and some
letter.
explanations of that. Is it the Commission's desire to hear the presentation, make a decision, or to continue it?
I'd like to make a motion to continue.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item number 2, the Santa Maria Medical Office Plan Development Permit at 1520 North Broadway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Carol Zuzenhenny, and I will be presenting the Santa Maria Medical Office at 1520 North Broadway. So this is a 1.1 acre site located in the Plan Development General Commercial District, which is surrounded by commercial uses. Senior community is off to the south there, and Rancho Bowl Bowling Alley is directly adjacent to the east. It is also located at the corner of East Donovan and North Broadway. This is an aerial view of the existing site. It's currently occupied by a large commercial restaurant building and some accessory buildings off on the eastern property line right over here. Currently, there are 4 access points, 2 off of East Donovan and 2 off of North Broadway. In addition, there are 2 existing signs, one for each for a different barbecue restaurant. One is for AJ Spurs, that is a non-conforming pole sign. The other one is for another barbecue. There are currently 5 trees on site, 1 mature magnolia, and 4 palm trees. So the building has been vacant for a number of years. It was originally built in the early 1950s. It was most recently occupied by AJ Spurs. As you'll see from the following slides, the site and the building themselves has fallen into disrepair. There's been a history of vandalism and trespass on the premises. So the applicant is proposing to make improvements, as you'll see in the following slides. This is a view looking south along from Donovan along Broadway. This is another view of the rear of the building off of West Donovan, excuse me. This is a view of the back of the building. You can see the restaurant off to the right here, and then the accessory buildings and a trash enclosure where there has been quite a bit of dumping, illegal dumping happening on site. In another view of the back building, you can see that the windows have been boarded over. And this is a view of that magnolia tree I mentioned earlier, and this is looking north from the senior living facility. So this is a view of the proposed plan for a medical office. It's a 25-station dialysis clinic. The building is proposed to be along the Donovan Road frontage, as is consistent with the Entrada specific plan with frontage along the street. There is one proposed access point reduced from 4 off of North Broadway. It does comply with fire department requirements for turning radiuses and such. New proposed trees are anticipated to be planted there. 11 on site, 8 new street trees, and the landscaping exceeds the 15% requirement for commercial sites by 26%. So that concludes this slide. The building was designed to meet the requirements of the Entrada specific plan. More of the requirements are outlined in the staff report, but in essence, the Entrada specific plan aims to make a kind of cohesive entryway into the city. Staff was cognizant of this when reviewing with staff. So the contemporary modern architectural style with clean roof lines, metal canopies, and architectural accenting throughout was intended to meet those requirements of the Entrada specific plan. So this is a view off of East Donovan Road, and this is the view from Rancho Bowl. Here's a view of the site, the entryway. There's a nice metal canopy there with some stucco bands. This is a view that you'd see from North Broadway. Here's some isometric views, kind of a rendering to show you what it would look like on the site with some landscaping, and again, that entry awning. This is the corner of Broadway and Donovan, showing a view of what the building would look like.
Carol, is that landscaping, is that actual landscaping that they're proposing? I mean, is that what we would see once built and grown out?
It's to give an idea, it's not the actual landscaping that's proposed. From my understanding, based on the landscape plan, I can go back. It doesn't show it on the slide, but this kind of green color is intended to be filled with shrubbery as well, with some drought-tolerant plants, and then like ground cover here, and then shrubs along with this darker green color along the sides here where Rancho Bowl is and along the perimeters of the site. So the rendering doesn't accurately represent the landscaping, but it does represent the building. And with that concludes staff's presentation. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission by motion approve Plan Development Permit PD 2019-0008. Applicant is available for questions should the commission so.
Thank you very much.
Question.
Yes.
I have a question regarding the landscape. What type of trees are they going to be installing? Because I didn't see that in 2 of the conditions where it talked about the landscape plan, and it wasn't included in the report.
So on sheet L1 in your plan set,
Yeah.
it's Raywood ash and Chinese pistache, sawleaf zilcovia. And I believe those have been reviewed by our Rec and Parks Department. Scott Christian reviews these with us and provides recommendations on tree types that work well in this area.
Okay.
What do they tend to grow to? Do we know?
They're large, these are 20, the ash is a 24-inch box, the zilcovia is a 24-inch box. They're large trees. They're full-size, they become full-size street trees.
But they'll be small when they're installed, correct?
The 24-inch box, those are good size, those are large trees.
Okay.
Larger than the small, in those plastic containers that you see, they're much bigger than that.
Okay.
Further questions? Yes, sir.
Just wondering about access. Dialysis centers generally don't have as much need for parking cars as they do for vans, drop-off, delivery. The people going there are generally transported. They're not, a lot of times they're not able to drive themselves. I don't see any accommodations for vans or drop-off on these plans. See a lot of parking that's probably going to look like that because the need just isn't that great on a dialysis center. So what are we going to do on the parking and the van drop-off? And is one access point deemed enough off of that? It's going to be, it looks like a right-in, right-out. I don't know what the designation on Broadway is right there, if it's a double yellow line, if they can cross traffic. So is it all been thought about? Are we good with that? It seems a little tight, and I'm just not sure about the van drop-off. It seems like something like that should be available for the clients.
So for the questions regarding how the clientele process works with the center, I would defer to the applicant to address how their process works and what most of their customers do. I'm going to ask Public Works to weigh in, though, about adequate access and on Broadway, because David Baez's team did review the application.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Seifert, the site is, as far as access, is greatly improved in our opinion. Specifically looking at Broadway, there were at one time where the restaurant was, you have medical office, which is a proposed use, and restaurant. When you look at the trip generations, they're about the same. Now, what the proposal is to remove the driveway that's closest. Thank you. Driveway that's closest to Broadway, which is something that actually we talked about something like this at the previous Planning Commission meeting. Sorry you weren't here, but driveways just in general, driveways closer to the intersection. We would not have been supportive of it, but fortunately the applicant removed that driveway, and the driveway is further away. So what I'm getting at is that we've looked at it, and access is good. Again, previous use was a restaurant, similar trip generation rates.
But you're also losing the Donovan access, aren't you?
That's correct.
So you actually, if the uses are the same, and there are 3 entrance exits, and you're talking about losing 2 of them, that doesn't seem to make much sense, does it?
Well, when you look at the access points on Donovan, those really weren't utilized, especially the one to the east. That's just basically to the, for solid waste in the back. Being a frequent user at the time, you've noticed that for those of us who've gone to the Central City boiler, it's the driveways that were utilized most commonly were the ones on Broadway. More importantly, the one furthest to the north is being removed. And access, yes, you're correct, there is one access point, and it's preferred that's the preferred access point. There is an allowable use that will allow lefts in from the north and the south. So leaving the site, you can access, there's a center left turn lane, that you can move into and then merge on to the southbound Broadway. So it's a safe movement in our opinion.
Commissioner Seifert, follow up on that or not?
I'll wait for when we get the applicant. Thank you very much.
Further questions of staff at this time?
Well, I guess I have similar questions or concerns that Commissioner Seifert talked about, just access, thinking about a left turn out and how to accommodate somebody going southbound, I guess, on Broadway. would be a question for me. I kind of see eliminated the East Donovan access because it's so close to the intersection. That does make some sense, but I have the same, maybe not same question, but maybe same comment or concern about us having addressed that single access point rather than having maybe 2 or 3. So.
Okay. Commissioner Lopez, anything at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. David, the site triangle at Donovan and Broadway, does it start from the curb face?
Correct.
And how far back is it is it 55?
I believe it's 35 feet. Thank you.
Okay.
I get a nod from planning. Yes.
So the corner of that building would probably be right,
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's well within the site constraint.
and that tree would have to be outside of that?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Any shrubbery, if there
Over 3 feet?
There can be landscaping there, but it has to be less than 3 feet, 3
Right.
feet or less.
Right. And then my other question was, is there a reciprocal access from this property to the Rancho Bull property? Because it is going to be closed off, right? Or at least it doesn't look like you're going to be able to access the Rancho Bull property. Is that correct?
Can we go to the aerial? Because this one does not provide access.
Right. And so on the southern side, right there, is that a reciprocal access point or?
I don't recall seeing that in the title report where we can confirm that.
Okay.
I don't recall, and perhaps that may be a question for the
applicant.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That was all.
Okay. Before I bring the applicant up, I did skip the disclosure of any commissioner communications with the applicant.
No.
Have there been any? All right, thank you. All right. Sir, if we can hear from you, and if you can give us your name and address for the record.
Sure, my name is Peter Morris, 15615 Alton Parkway, Irvine, California, and I'm the architect. When it comes to the parking, I completely agree with you with the van drop-off. If we can go to our new site plan, I can show you what our plan is. What we've done is we've met the city's minimum parking requirements, so we have to have this many parking stalls. We agree with you that we do not need that many. We have a lot of vans, a lot of people getting dropped off. So that should lessen some of our concerns about access in and out of the site, because most of these patients get dropped off. But you'll see that we have our 4, down towards the bottom, we have our 4 parking stalls there, and then you have that loading zone that's up above it, just a little bit right there. So that's our loading zone right there, where vans can pull in or they can back in, so we can have 2 vans there at the same time that are doing pickup and drop-offs. They also, if they're available, they will use the handicap parking stalls if they're available, because they're only there for a couple of minutes. They drop off, they roll the patients in, and then they leave and they come back and pick them up. So we had planned for the patients to be picked up and dropped off, and we have the one right there where the cursor is. That is our pickup and drop-off area right there, specifically for the vans.
So there's no circular type drive where they pull in,
No.
stop, unload, and keep going?
Nope,
And that's not a concern?
that's not a concern, no.
Thank you.
No, we do this all over California, and this is exactly the way that we do it. They pull into the parking stalls, because they're not huge trucks, they're vans. And they're vans, and they have side loaders, and they load into the into that loading area right there, whether it's a van accessible parking stall, or if it's just a loading area like that. But you're right, we will not use nearly that many parking stalls for our use. But it does meet the city's minimum requirements. As far as the easement in the back is concerned, that there is an easement that I think has been abandoned already, or it's being abandoned, and there will be no more access. We will be private within our own site. It's fully enclosed.
Further questions for the applicant?
Does that answer your question for the parking and drop-off?
It does, thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner?
Would you be amenable to creating another access point before the second, or creating 2 entrances on Broadway, being that the Donovan one is not recommended?
Yeah, we looked at that with staff, and it's getting too close to Donovan. It's getting too close to the street. It's currently there, but it's not, I don't even think it's within the city's guidelines anymore. It's too close to Donovan. This is such a small site that I don't think we can get 2 driveways into our site and still stay a proper distance away from Donovan. Now, we eliminated the Donovan entrances because the city guidelines require us to have our building up on the front of Donovan. So we moved, the building used to be in the back and we used to have the access. We've moved it to the front to comply with the city requirements or the city guidelines. And then that gets rid of the Donovan access, which is okay with us. We really only need the one entrance. We have full circulation, we've run our test miles. It doesn't show up on your exhibits here, but we've run truck turning radiuses for the fire department and everybody, so we have full access in there.
And what are your hours of operation?
Yeah, 5 o'clock in the morning until 6 at night,
Monday through Friday or Saturdays?
Monday through Saturday,
Monday through Saturday, okay.
but Saturdays are light.
Go ahead. Most of the dialysis centers are overbooked, and you can't get into them. The client list is heavy. So how many, at
24
6 o'clock,
stations.
is that 3 drop-offs, or 2, or are you
Well, we start
thinking
with,
about
we
more
start
in the
with one
future?
shift. They will start with one shift, and as the need grows for this specific clinic, they can go up to 4 shifts.
And is that the 6 o'clock time at 4
That's,
shifts?
that's 6 o'clock in the morning, but it's a later at night.
That's,
It gets
so
late at
where
night.
would we be at night?
What's the latest one, like 10 o'clock?
Yeah, that's the last, at least paper.
Right. That would, and we usually would go in for a variance or something, because we're used to submitting hours of operation. And if that would ever change, we would probably end up back here. But we're going to have 24 stations here, and like you say, there is a need here. So they are anxious to
Unfortunately,
get.
there's a need everywhere.
Yeah, you're right.
Now, you guys currently have a building in another location, or is this?
This is a brand-new building. This is a brand-new requirement?
Sir, if you could come forward and state your name and address for the record, please, since it seems like you're answering some questions there.
Jay Brigham with DaVita Dialysis, and
The address here, I'm sorry, thank you.
155-692 El Barat, and that's Laguna Niguel.
Thank you.
Okay.
What was our first question?
How late at night?
Oh, yeah, it's usually around 6 or 7 is when they end up, but if we do go to like a 4th or 5th shift, it does go later. But, and yes, there is a bigger requirement, and this is our second location in Santa Maria.
So you would have 2 locations open?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes, this doesn't replace the current one.
Okay.
We're going to have both.
Further questions? Questions of the applicant? No? And just to follow up with staff, so we couldn't put one on Donovan because, the reason the building's been moved there is because of the Entrada plan, I assume? Yeah, okay,
Yeah, that's correct.
okay.
Just a question. I thought the Entrada program was like a Spanish style with tile roofs, and is it not? Am I mistaken on that?
So you might be referring to the Entrada Este specific plan, which specifically calls out the Mediterranean style, which was what we saw with the Kia project earlier. This one just sticks to kind of a natural muted tones, like earth tones, clay, and off-white tan.
It's a modern building.
It is, yes. So it sticks to the color schemes, and it also sticks to the materials.
And
the
that
Entrada-
fits in the program.
It does, yes.
Okay, that was my question. Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions of the applicant by commissioners?
No.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Hearing none, I'll go ahead and close the open hearing and bring it back to the commission for discussion and/or motions.
I have a point.
Yes, sir.
Chair. You know, when we were talking about sightline, Mr. Bees, those 2 trees that are right at the entrance, seems like a bad idea.
We would, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Seifert, we would definitely apply the site distance triangle for that, and that's a good observation, and that's something that we will likely have to make sure that it's in compliance with. So that's a very good observation. So we will have to likely move those trees just out of that site distance triangle so that it complies, so that site distance is appropriate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, yeah, I had a question. I'm having maybe a tougher time with this. I like the building, I like the way it's set, but this is such a prominent commercial corner on the north side of town. I was thinking, this is more CPO zoning, medical offices. It's kind of, I like the building, it's just, I don't know if this is the right place for it. We were, I think a few years back, CHC tried to go where Splash and Dash is now. I think it's a different zone. I think it's a commercial convenience up there, right? And that was kind of one of the reasons that it wasn't approved, is because it was more for commercial, and CHC is medical. And I do understand the need. I took my father to dialysis for months, and it's just such a prominent corner on the north side of town. The next prominent corner we have is up at Presker, and that's, I don't know, mile and a half away. So I just, in my opinion, I think it's more suited for a commercial type of use rather than medical. That's my only comment. Do we lose some tax revenue for the city for not having a commercial type use? Those are some of the things that I was thinking about when I was reviewing this project, but I like it. It's just, I don't know if this is the right place for it. That was my comments.
Thank you very much. Additional comments? No?
If I may, I sort of agree a little bit with Commissioner Lopez, because when I saw the proposal, I was a little bit surprised at the location, and I realized the need as well, the demand, and so that's obviously a good thing. But it was a little bit peculiar location, given the prominent corner there, given sort of the surrounding uses in that area. Other than that, I like the product. I think the building is nice. I think, in spite of having a single driveway, I think it probably is a little bit better condition than having 4 driveways. But I did struggle a little bit with just the idea of having this type of facility at this location. It just seems like centralized location where we have healthcare, now in the city. It made a little bit more sense than something out here. So, again, it's a struggle because I understand the demand, but it's just an odd location for me too.
Does staff care to weigh in at all at the 30,000-foot level, basically, and a little understanding of the commerce side of that area versus what we're looking at?
Sure. Ryan Hostetter again. Our Broadway corridor, being the old 101 corridor, it's challenging for us because we essentially have at least 7 miles of commercial. We have so much commercially zoned property on Broadway. And what we're seeing is a complete change in the commercial environment, and we see properties that aren't, the highest and best use isn't commercial anymore, and they're sitting vacant, and they're turning into blighted properties. So, we were recommending approval of this project because we see an opportunity to enhance this corner, a key corner here, and put a use that will be successful here. I think at a 30,000-foot view, when we dive into our general plan update, we're going to be doing an economic analysis of how much commercial the city has, how much the industrial the city has, and do a deep dive into where should that go now moving forward? Is it all just a strip along Broadway, a strip along Betaravia, or are we going to do clustered areas? Are some areas better for commercial? Some areas that are now zoned commercial maybe need more flexibility in order to spur development and enhancement in those areas and opening the zoning up potentially. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity with our general plan update to talk about those things. But here before you, we have an application and an applicant who's, I believe, in escrow on the property and is asking to do something different here.
Thank you very much. Comment?
I think it's an improvement to that area. I understand Commissioner Lopez's concerns. However, we do have the Rancho Garden Senior Community next door, and so that takes away from the use. Also, with the H2A housing that was approved on Broadway. And while I understand that it is a prime corner, the last few years, it's looked really bad. And so I think this would be an improvement for that corner. I agree that it's probably not the best use, but this is the applicant that has come forward, and it sounds like they're buying the property. And unless we had another applicant coming forward at this time, we just have to look at what's before us at this time.
Commissioner Sweeper?
You know, it's funny, when I look at this property, I took my wife to that restaurant for all-you-can-eat cracked crab when she was about 8.5 months pregnant. Pretty sure we broke them on that night. I think we actually went through 4 table changes. We watched people come and go. So, you know, as far as the use and the restaurant, I totally get that. They've had this property vacant for so many years. No one has come forward to use it. I actually tried to talk a client into remodeling it into a sort of a semi-health clinic. They didn't go for it. I was trying to think of what this property could possibly be used for, because the restaurant didn't seem to be working. Rancho Bowl has made huge inroads with development in there and cleaning it up, and they're doing a good business. We've approved the Pepper Tree Plaza, that little mini mart. They're rebuilding that. It's a complete rebuild. It's going to be very attractive. We approved the Shell station, kitty corner to that, which I haven't seen anything been worked on yet. Across the corner is a very nice gas station, kept up real well. So, yeah, I see that, yeah, I hate to lose the restaurant and that type of use, but as Commissioner Hernandez stated, you know, it's been in disuse and disrepair for so long. I would love to see, I like the building, I like the memories, but I would like to see that building actually go in and clean up that corner. I think we have an opportunity here to really finish off that corner with our decisions and make it a really nice, clean corner at Donovan and Broadway. So I could see supporting this project. And the other, Commissioner Blanco, as far as, I have very limited knowledge. I'm sorry about your experience also, Commissioner Lopez, but I know that the DaVita is located on Depot and McCoy, and I know they have patients come from all over town to get there. So having this facility here, some of these patients would actually not be taking a long trip all the way across town, and some of them look so feeble that I've seen coming out of these, they're in wheelchairs, they're being pushed across. It's just a debilitating disease. So I could see why we need a clinic over there. Does it have to be on Broadway and Donovan? No, but would it improve that corner and that whole intersection? I do believe it would. So that's the way I'm looking at it. Thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion?
Not say anything. No comment.
No comment.
Motion.
I would move, I'm not ready. I would move that we approve the plan development permit PD 2019-008.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstentions? Motion carries. Good luck, gentlemen. Oral reports from Planning Commission and staff. Oh, excuse me. Ryan?
Yes, thank you. Upcoming meetings, we have a study session for you on December 5th. We have 2 projects to talk about. A new project from U-Haul at the old Kmart site. You've seen a project fairly recently about parking the trucks now they're coming in for a larger plan for the whole property, doing storage, remodeling the building, and doing a bigger project. So we're going to bring that to you at a study session, December 5th.
And Ryan, that would be the reason why they have not rehabbed the parking lot as they were originally required?
That's one reason, yes, because this larger plan involves redoing the whole parking lot and putting buildings there. So they're looking at storage. So they're going to bring that to study session, and we'll see. And we also have a commercial truck dealership. They're 18-wheeler trucks that are, we don't see those very, very often. It's out sort of just west of where Lineage is, out on the edge of the city. And so we're looking at bringing that to you as a study session as well.
And they're going to bring a truck and we get to drive around and do the
I don't know
horn and
about
everything? That's where you wanted to go with that. I'm working for you, man. As your chair, I'm working for you.
And so that's December 5th, and then December 18th, we have a hearing. And we're looking at 5 to 6 items on that meeting. We have a few of those being consent items.
How many?
5 or 6?
5 or 6, at least
Consent
2. Nice try. At least 2 consent items.
Does that
Two
mean
of
there's
them.
no planning commission meeting on the 4th?
So
Hearing?
that's correct. No hearing December 4th.
Oh.
No study session tomorrow.
Got it.
So December 5th study session, December 18th hearing, and then December 19th study session. And this is the study session where we're bringing folks in to talk about the old projects. So it's going to be an informational study session
Good.
we're looking at December 19th for that.
When you have somebody coming in, are we going to be having legal weigh-in as well as the technical side, so then we understand both sides of that
Yes,
that
that's
dynamic?
correct.
Thank you.
I hear that's super important. I hear a lot of decisions have just been made and the laws have been changed. So
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, would really like to be educated
Yeah.
on that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And that's what I have for you for the remainder of the year. It's already end of December. I can't believe it.
All right. Does anyone have anything else?
Of course.
Yes? What do you got,
So
sir?
a while back, I asked about the Las Brisas laundromat and their signage. It's in between Yummy Donuts and the Broadway Carpet Company. The building is looking fantastic. I mean, we allowed that use on the other end. They're keeping up their bargain. The parking lot is good. The building looks good. Everything looks good right till you get to that one laundromat. Have we talked to them, or is there anything we can do about that? Just as far as getting the proper signage, maybe?
So each parcel in that property is separately owned. I believe there is a sign program, however, there's nothing the city can really do about making them change their signage.
Even though it's painted on, I thought that wasn't allowed.
I can look into that, but I don't think there's a regulation that prohibits paint. It might not be in compliance with their actual sign program, but I'd have to look a little bit deeper into that.
Okay. That'd be great, because if we could, man, it would just, we're close. We're real close. And the other item is, I did attend my first subdivision committee meeting, and that will be coming before us. It's a project for the Marion Extended Care, I guess. So I attended.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? I had asked about the Toyota Madeline site, the guys that do the forklift repair on Blosser. I've asked about it several times. It is still a desolate wasteland from some post-apocalyptic looking movie. How are we doing on vegetation? They are very cooperative, I imagine.
Yes, so they just Code enforcement is working with them closely and with me as well. So we're waiting to hear back from them, and they are getting their feet to the fire, so to speak.
Okay. What's their stance on the thing? I mean, where are we at with that, other than you're kind of working for, I'm kind of curious where the dynamics are right now.
So planning reviewed a landscape plan and approved it. It's just a matter of the owner going in and making those improvements.
So it's kind of where it was 4 or 5 years ago?
Well, they hadn't signed their permit, and they hadn't submitted a landscape plan yet. So we are making a little bit more progress from
okay.
where we were.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Excuse me, is there any time limitations on those items? I mean, is there like if it is going to expire in a certain amount of time, do they only have 60, 90 days to do that, or?
So they get compliance orders, and then they get fined, depending on what the code enforcement.
Okay, good. Yeah, because we were real clear on that when we approved that, and they certainly didn't do a thing, so that would be nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To be frank about it, they objected to it tremendously, and we kind of pushed them on it, and now they've just ignored it. So it's something that eats at me every time I drive up that way, which is very regular.
Don't Google their Bakersfield store then.
Is it nice?
Oh my gosh, it's real nice.
I remember her second home in Pismo also. It was very nice as well. So there you go. All right. Anything else? Thank you very much.